Boy, do I wish I did some things differently when I started learning about wine. Oh, I do. I do. I'd save myself so much time and effort if only I knew a couple of these things, but that's okay. I am here today to teach you a couple of things in order to help you avoid those rookie mistakes, and hopefully you'll learn one or two good habits that will completely change your wine game forever.
First of all, what a sad world would that be if there was no wine? Quite honestly, I have no intention of stopping drinking wine anytime soon. This is for fun
Cheers,
only.
everyone. Welcome back to my channel, guys, the channel where we take mystery out of wine and start enjoying it to the fullest. Today, I want to share a couple of things with you that I wish I learned sooner in my wine journey, and hopefully I will give you a couple of lessons that I myself learned the hard way so that you don't make the same mistakes. Number one is keeping a wine journal. And this is honestly one of my biggest regrets from back in the days when I started my wine journey, is just not documenting the wines that I was drinking. And I remember having a great bottle of wine at a dinner at any point of time, and the next week, poof, it's completely gone from my head. I don't remember its name. I don't remember the grape or the wine region where it came from. So don't make that same mistake that I did and start documenting wines that you drink. So here's what you can do. You can write down the wine name, vintage, grape variety, region, or even tasting notes. And then you can either use like an old school notebook for it or a wine journal, or use an app like Vivino, for example, and this is not sponsored, to document that. And then rate it and add a note kind of saying great with pasta, or that wine was way too oaky for me. And I mentioned the good old like notebook for it. I have this little wine journal right here, which is from Amazon. I'm going to link it down below. Super inexpensive. I'm going to have a close-up of what it actually has in it, but it goes through all of those little things that I just mentioned a second ago, and it helps you so tremendously to really remember wines that you liked, but even more importantly, wines that you didn't like, so you don't have to drink them again. The second thing that I wish I did sooner in my wine journey is learning the basics of wine regions and the grape varietals as well. Okay, so for years I picked wines just based on their label and on the fancy names that they had. I swear I was guilty of that. Anyone else guilty of that perhaps? But once I learned about the grape varieties and the regions of wines, it really kind of help wine to be less confusing in my head and way more exciting when it comes to consuming and choosing it. So here are a couple of things that I wish I started sooner. Learning the difference between, say, Pinot Noir and Syrah. Understanding what makes Bordeaux different from Burgundy, because I didn't always know that. Tasting wines from different climates, cool versus warm climate, and really seeing how it affects the flavor of that wine. So if you want to fast forward this journey for yourself and learn faster about all of that without going into Court of Master Sommelier school or WSET school, watch some of the videos that I have on this channel teaching you all of that, and that will greatly help you accelerate your wine journey and learn about those wine regions and grape varietals so you can enjoy your wine much, much sooner. The next wine thing that I wish I knew sooner is pairing wine and food with intention. Ooh, this is a big one, and this is a big regret, because truly pairing your food and wine with a purpose is something I didn't always used to do. I mean, I'd literally just have whichever wine with anything that I was eating. Sushi, chocolate, pizza, whatever, you name it. I didn't put any thought into how to pair that wine with food that I'm eating, or vice versa. So this is a big one, and I really want you to focus on it. So here are a couple of things that you can do. You can pair acidic wines like Sauvignon Blanc to go great with fatter foods, so something that's deep fried, or maybe fatter cheeses like brie or goat cheese. You can use high tannin red wines with protein-rich dishes like meats and steaks. And then remember to pair your sweet wines with foods that are less sweet than the wine. So your desserts will need to be paired with wines that are even sweeter than that dessert. So those are just a couple of things, but be intentional about pairing your food and wine. I personally, when I go to a restaurant now, look at the menu first. I kind of spot out what I want to eat, and then I order my glass of wine or a bottle of wine based on what I'm going to order from the food menu later on. It helps me. If it helps you, go for it, but try not to be snobby about it. Honestly, it's all about enjoyment. And just because I said, hey, do high tannic wines with your steak doesn't mean you have to do that. That's just a rule of thumb, just an example for you. Honestly, pairing food and wine is very subjective, so you do you as long as you enjoy it, but put some thought into it. Don't just do it by default. And if you need help with it, ask the waiter or the sommelier in the restaurant to help you out with that food and wine pairing. The next wine thing that I wish I knew sooner was shopping for a reputable producer or a wine region, not just the price tag. And you guys, I was so guilty of that before. I would think that anything that's $10 or less was totally my jam, and anything above $20 was like way out of my league. But on the opposite end of the spectrum, the other mistake that people make is thinking that expensive wine is superior to cheaper wines, which is not true at all. So regardless of like where you are on this spectrum, like I said, don't shop for the price tag. Shop for the producer or the region of the wine or the grape varietal that you're looking for. So here are a couple of things that I wish I started sooner. One, looking for value regions like Chile or Portugal, southern Italy, for example, and then buying wines from reputable producers instead of just supermarket brands or fancy labels on the shelves. Learning the style of regions. So like Rioja is famous for oak-aged Tempranillo, or Marlborough is a very zingy and fresh Sauvignon Blanc. So not all cheap wine is good and not all expensive wine is good. But at the same time, you should know that you can 100% find a great bottle of wine for about $15 or even less sometimes. But don't shop for the price tag. Shop for a wine region or a reputable producer. Another wine thing that I wish I started sooner is serving wines at right temperatures. And I have a huge confession to make. I've been called out on this channel by saying that if you want to, you can put an ice cube into your Pinot Noir. I mean, you guys, I was all over the map when it comes to wine temperatures myself. I would drink an over chilled white wine all the time, like out of the freezer pretty much. And I would also totally drink a Pinot Noir just straight from the shelf in the store without chilling it even a single bit. And then the ice cube story, of course, is just a nightmare of mine. So what I learned, and a lesson that I want to pass on to you, is that the temperature of our wine changes the flavor of that wine, or affects the flavor, I should say, of that wine big time. So here are a couple of things that I wish I started sooner. One, red wine should be cool, not warm. So yes, if you want to have your super tannic wines at a room temperature, that's fine. But try to serve your, say, Pinot Noirs or Sangiovese at around 60-65 degrees Fahrenheit, 15 to 18 degrees Celsius. And then white wines should be chilled, but not freezing like I used to drink them. So serve those at 45-55 degrees Fahrenheit or 7 to 12 degrees Celsius. Now, sparkling wines are best ice cold. Dessert wines love a slight chill as well, something that I didn't know before. So now you know that too. So just remember that it's a game changer to serve your wine at the right temperature. Learn those serving temperatures and serve your wine accordingly. One more wine thing that I wish I started sooner or learned about earlier is tasting wine more mindfully. There was time in my life where I just drank wine to get drunk. I mean, I'll just say it. There was that time. And there was also time where I tasted the wine and I thought, oh, yeah, that's fine, or meh, don't really like it, without really digging into what I did or didn't like about that wine. And honestly, that was a total game changer for me to start tasting the wine more mindfully, to really pay attention to the flavors, to the nose of the wine. And here are a couple of things that I wish I started earlier, so please do the same if you haven't yet. Number one is actually smelling the wine before tasting. Crazy to think that I didn't used to do that before. So smell your wine before you taste it. Then note any fruit or floral or herb, maybe spice or oak aromas in the wine. And then pay attention to the body, the acidity, the tannins, and the finish of that wine. All of those things I did not pay attention to before, and I really regret that. So hopefully you don't make the same mistake. Tasting wine more mindfully makes you appreciate it better and also makes you learn something about wine with every glass, every sip that you take. So I strongly encourage for you to start doing that. The next wine thing that I wish I started earlier is storing wine properly. And I just have one word for it. Oops. Because I literally stored wine on top of my fridge in the past, or I would leave an unfinished bottle of wine on my kitchen counter and try and enjoy it the next day. And of course, it was not good whatsoever. So I mean, mistakes you learn, right? I did not know that heat, sunlight, vibrations of the fridge, all of that spoil your wine. So you have to be careful about how you store your wine, whether it's opened or unopened. So here are a couple of things that I learned when it comes to that. Store bottles in a cool, dark place that's also stable with no shaking. Lay bottles on their side if they have a cork in order to keep that cork moist and avoid corkage or spoilage of the said wine. And then if you open the wine, use a vacuum pump or at least a stopper to preserve it and put it in the fridge after you sealed it with that stopper to help it last just a little bit longer. And remember that a properly stored $10 or $15 bottle of wine tastes much better than the $50 bottle of wine that was stored incorrectly. Another thing that I wish I knew sooner about wine is properly reading wine labels, because they can be very confusing and we can be fooled by them. Wine labels are so different depending on where they come from in the world, and they've got so many seals in foreign languages on them that it's just a total nightmare sometimes. But there are ways to learn how to properly read a wine label, and here are a couple of things that I wish I knew sooner. So first, learn the difference between an appellation and the brand, for example, because those are different things. Recognize terms like Reserva or Grand Cru or DOCG when it comes to Italian wine. Hint, hint, all of those things I talk about on this channel. And then check for vintage, ABV, and then region as well that's mentioned on those wine labels. Honestly, a wine label can tell you so much about a wine that you're buying. You just need to know what to look for, and you need to know specific terminology that is used on those wine labels. Know how to properly read them, and you'll be covered. This next wine thing that I wish I started earlier may not be for everyone, yet I wish I did it sooner, and that's building a starter collection, if you will. So I used to buy only one bottle at a time, but once I started my small wine stash, everything changed for me. So here are a couple of things that I wish I started doing sooner. I wish I had a few bottles of white, red, and sparkling on hand, because that wasn't always the case. And I also encourage you to try a few age-worthy wines to just revisit later. And then also buying 2 bottles of the same wine. If you find a good vintage, buy 2 of those bottles, drink one now, and then one to age. There's something about having your wine stash or wine collection that is just so satisfying, and it's such a pride moment to look at your little wine collection, no matter how big or small it is. And it also gives you options and makes you learn more about wines, have a couple of wines to choose from depending on what you're eating at dinner or brunch whenever you're tasting that wine. So definitely a ton of benefits, in my opinion, of having that wine stash or wine collection for yourself. And I wish I knew this sooner. The next wine thing that I wish I knew before or started sooner is honestly one of my biggest regrets in my wine journey of all time. So exploring beyond just famous wines is a big one for me. So before, I'd drink only Cabernet Sauvignon or Pinot Noir, Chardonnay, maybe a rosé. Like that's all I knew back then. My world changed when I started discovering and trying new wines that I never tried before, the grapes, the new producers and whatnot. So please learn from my mistake and do these couple of things now so you don't regret them later. Taste lesser known grapes, so Grüner Veltliner, Gamay, and those are just a few examples. There's so many out there. Explore regions like Austria, Uruguay, maybe South Africa. Just give some natural and orange wines a shot too, because some of them are truly incredible. I did not know what a pet nat was just a year ago, and once I tasted that, my mind was completely blown. Honestly, it's just like expanding horizons and learning something new in life in general. Once you step away from those most known, most famous wines in the world, you become so much more exposed to different cultures and more wine knowledge that you could ever imagine. I mean, honestly, it's a true game changer. And if I had to spot out and circle out just one biggest regret in my whole wine journey, it would probably be this one. And that's just, being a stickler to the most known wine types and not trying anything new. And the last thing about wine that I wish I knew sooner, and I wish somebody told me sooner maybe to change my mind, is that it's truly a journey, not a race. Or you can say it's a marathon, right? It's not a sprint. I mean, that's just a one big lesson for me. You don't have to know everything about wine. I've had this particular wine channel on YouTube for over 5 years now, and I drank wine way before that, and I still don't know a ton of stuff. And you guys have been just such a great community for me, honestly, correcting me on some things in the comment section and just letting me know about some other things. Just opening my mind to new things that I didn't know before. And this journey is a lifetime journey. To me, at least, this wine drinking journey is a lifetime journey. So I think the more mindful you approach drinking wine, the richer your experience really become. And I truly wish this on all of you guys. Just remember, you don't have to sound any specific way. You don't have to say these fancy wine terms or know every single wine grape variety on the list on the menu in a restaurant. Just enjoy it. Ask the right questions, and remember, it's all about your personal satisfaction and your personal experience. It doesn't matter what others think. So now I want to hear from you. Please let me know. Drop that comment down below about something that you wish you knew sooner about wine, maybe a humbling experience of some sort, or just, something that you regret not knowing before. I think it truly is a humbling experience to admit something that you regret doing in the past that you wish you knew sooner. So share with me. I love chatting with you. And if this video made you smile at least one time, give it a like. Your support really matters to me so much. And if you want to see more videos like this one coming your way on a weekly basis, then subscribe to my channel. So guys, please stay curious, stay tasting, and until next time, cheers everyone.